What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
If Beale Street could talk. New movie from Barry Jenkins, the director of Moonlight, that won Best Picture. Was it last year? 2 years ago? Same year La La Land was nominated, which I don't understand. Well, the Academy Awards in general are pretty ridiculous. So, but anyway, amazing director. I enjoyed Moonlight a lot. So it's one of those movies. I mean, it's an unconventional love story, kind of coming of age story. Yeah, and told from the African American perspective, the gay African American perspective. This one, not so much, more of a traditional boy meets girl love story. Heartbreaking love story. But beautiful film. It's just, this is definitely more of a traditional mainstream kind of film compared to Moonlight, but still, I mean, clearly a movie that would be a shoo-in for Best Picture, Best Director. Amazing acting. I could see supporting actress going to the mom, but it's just so good overall. Regina King, I'm pretty sure is the mom. Yeah, she's great. But just the cast is amazing. The writing is amazing. The acting is amazing. The story is, I mean, it's a love story interwoven with a story about the effect of systematic racism and how our country is, in a lot of ways, what it became. I think there's that documentary 13th. I forget what the name is, on Netflix, and it's about how after slavery, basically prisons turned into slave camps, where it's like, oh, they released all the slaves, but then they just started arresting black people for just everything and throwing them in jail. And similar things have happened, like the crack versus cocaine. When you get busted for crack, it's like 20 times more of a penalty than cocaine. It's the same drug, just different form. But crack, because it can be sold in smaller quantities at a lower price, generally poor people get affected more. Inner city people who are maybe, because of also real estate racism, maybe can't move out of places and buy homes because, families like the Trump family won't allow people of color to purchase homes. Like, there's a lot of our history in this country which these old white dudes that are still around, like, people think old white dudes are going to die off. It's like, no, because I've seen there's people my age, right? I'm almost 40. There's people my age that were, very liberal, very, very much similar to how I am now. I'm still of the mind that our government should be set up in a way to help us. It should be a system to help the people, right? And it should be more listen to our needs versus the needs of CEOs and businesses. However, the system over the years, over the decades, has been slowly chipped away and re-engineered and hacked by rich people that want to stay rich. And part of that is just cutting out other races from even competing. So let's make sure that if you're a person of color in this country, that the hurdles that you have to overcome to become successful are exponentially more difficult than everybody else. And we're going to do that by making certain things hugely illegal, one of which being, marijuana laws. In this movie, there's even one of his friends gets out of jail. They meet on the street, and he's telling him about how horrible it was in jail and how he got busted. He got caught. He didn't get caught for anything. They arrested him. He happened to have weed in his pocket. They arrested him for stealing a car. He doesn't even know how to drive a car. But instead of taking the harsher penalty of having marijuana in his pocket, he took a plea saying he stole the car, even though he didn't do it. But it's less time in prison. So now he has that on his record instead of having a weed charge, which in many states, including New York, the laws are completely different now. Slowly. There's still old white dudes that want to roll that back because they still want to have the control. They don't want to lose their control. They don't want to lose their ability to disenfranchise everybody, so they have the advantage to maintain their wealth. So it's woven with that heavy subject of, systematic racism with just a beautiful love story of two kids that grew up together, that were like, friends from young children into adulthood, and they fall in love, and they take the next step from being just friends to lovers, and then shit goes wrong. It's very much told in like the way of kind of like Memento, where it's the love story is leading up to the tragedy that happens. But then it's also showing the aftermath of, the tragedy. Basically, him getting falsely arrested for a rape that now he's in jail for, that his girlfriend now and her family, that their families are friends. And there's a scene in there where the families come over to tell them that, they're pregnant while he just got arrested. So everybody's working together to try and get him out. And it's like, you see towards the end of this movie, you find out it's like, oh shit, this isn't that kind of movie. This isn't the kind of movie where everything is nice and happy. It's not that kind of movie, because life isn't that kind of movie. For a lot of people, life is not that kind of movie. If you're a rich white kid, life is a Disney movie. Nothing can happen to you. Nothing bad you will never, as a rich white kid, you're never going to be falsely imprisoned and put to death in prison. It's so unlikely if you're a wealthy white kid for that to happen. But it's just a beautiful film. I really enjoyed it. It's a bummer movie. It's a bummer movie, but there's hope in. There's no hope. There's hope and change. At least, like, this story highlights the huge problem we have with our system in this country, and a huge problem with racism and racist people being in charge, having any authority, whether it's just a police officer that has authority that's racist, or a president of the United States that has authority, that has a long history of racism, that comes from a family of just blatant racism, just systematic racism in the worst ways, not just calling somebody an N-word. They've set up industries that do not allow people of color to participate. And it's disgusting. We live in a disgusting country. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of positives. And this movie shows a lot of positives, because there's hope. There's hope in this movie up until you find out the reality of this country, and then it's just a bummer movie. But I love this movie. If Beale Street could talk, Barry Jenkins is amazing. I can't wait to see his next movie. Subscribe to this show everywhere podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Inspireddisorder.com for all of my artwork. Over 600 paintings available at Ray Taylor for me on all social media. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!